It doesn't matter what I do or don't do. I still get to be loved. It doesn't matter what I did or didn't do. I still get to be loved. This experience of being loved no matter what is something I have been giving myself through my inner family work. No matter what a member of my inner family feels or thinks or says or does, they're still loved. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-step recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold, and I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening. This is episode 307, Compulsive Overeating Recovery, Discovering Unconditional Love After a Food Slip. Yesterday, I had a pretty profound experience, and I want to walk you through that. I shared it with another fellow in recovery, and she found it exceedingly helpful. But first, here's a bit of a backstory that I need to share. As you may know, I am in recovery for compulsive overeating, and I have been abstinent since April 20th of 2016. God willing, it will be 9 years this April. If you're not familiar with the concept of abstinence, it's equivalent to being sober in an alcohol program. Well, last weekend, I had a slip with my food in that I had seconds that were not planned. That is, I ate more than I'd planned. This is what we call a slip in my recovery program, which is different than a relapse. It's like the top of the slippery slope. Now, I didn't realize until I worked on the form we use in OA called From Slip or Relapse to Recovery, what was going on. Using this form, you go back and do sort of an autopsy on the events leading up to the slip or relapse. And using that form helped me realize that what led up to it was that I had a lot of feelings going on and turned to the food, which I haven't done in years. So this is what was going on. My sweetheart and I were hosting friends for dinner over at his house. I had invited people to come at 6 p.m., but I forgot, and I thought I invited them to come at 6:30. I didn't realize until later that night that I had, in fact, invited them to come at 6. As I was pulling up to his house at 6 p.m., thinking I have lots of time to get ready for everybody, I got a text from one of the couples saying, "We're here." Now, that annoyed me because I thought they were 30 minutes early, and I'd expected to have more time to get set up before they arrive. When I walked in, he was still vacuuming because he also thought they were coming at 6:30 because that's what I told him. So that added to my sense of urgency. Now, luckily, I had dropped off the food earlier in the day, and he'd already put it on the stove to heat it up. But I had some snacks that I wanted to set out. I wanted to get the table set. My friends were really gracious and offered to help a couple of times, but I refused, which is an old pattern of mine. I'm definitely much better at asking for help and receiving help than I was in the past, but not on this day. Nope. Now, I can see now, looking back, that I could have said yes, and that would have given me the ability to slow down. Instead, I had my guests sitting alone in the living room with snacks, of course, while I set up and he finished vacuuming. And I had this feeling like, I've got to do this. I don't need help. So I was rushing and I was feeling annoyed at them for being early. At one point, they said something about, we thought it was 6. And I said, well, it may have been 6, but I was expecting you at 6:30. That was one moment of clarity I had there where I didn't assume it was them who was wrong. I realized that it could have been me who was wrong. And it turned out that was the truth. But nevertheless, I had the expectation that night that they'd arrive at 6:30. I later went back and looked at our text exchange, and I did tell them 6 p.m., but I had it in my head that it was 6:30. I don't know why. And then the other thing that impacted my emotions that night is that the other couple that was coming over, who are longtime dear friends, but there's one of the people in the couple that I've had something going on with. And I've made attempts a number of times to try to find out what's going on. Is there something we need to talk about? But she's never responded to my inquiries. So I've let it go because she's an adult. She gets to tell me if there's an issue, if she wants me to know. So I had some feelings about that because this was the first time in a long time that I've invited them as a couple to do anything. It just felt right to invite them that night because we were going to play games and have dinner, and all 3 of the couples are friends. So I had all these feelings go on about that, about rushing, about feeling annoyed and not wanting help. So here's where the slip came in. I had planned my serving of chili, and I ate that, and then I just got up and got seconds. Now, that is not something I do. I plan and measure my food. I even brought my own ladle to make sure I was having the same portion I always have. But this time, I got up and got seconds. I sat down, I ate it, and I'm pretty sure I knew what I was doing at the time. And as soon as I finished, it was like I sort of woke up, and I immediately, from the table, texted my sponsor and said, I just had seconds, which were unplanned. I am done. I also commit to not doing, quote, damage control later tonight by adjusting my snack. So that's one of the things that people that have problems with food will do is if they undereat, they'll try to do damage control later and overeat. Or if they overeat, then they try to do damage control after the fact by undereating later. And that's just not healthy. We avoid that kind of damage control behavior in this program. So I also told her that when I get home or tomorrow, I'm going to complete that form from slip or relapse to recovery, and I'll share it with you the next time that we talk. And I'm so glad that I filled out that form the next day. It wasn't until I worked on that form that I realized all this stuff about the feelings and how they impacted me. Up until I worked on the form, what I thought was, what the fuck was that? How did that happen? And I was first thinking I did it because I almost never eat with other people. I'm almost always eating alone, and I only put out the food that I have planned. Now, sometimes I do eat around with, I eat in front of my sweetheart, but he and I both have different food issues. So we often don't eat meals together. So I'm really not used to eating meals together with others very often. I'm not used to those distractions. But when I looked back at all of the events, I realized maybe that was partially it, that I'm not used to eating with other people and I wasn't as focused on my food as I usually am. But it really had to do with the feelings of rushing, being annoyed, being kind of scared about what was going to happen with a friend, and not wanting to accept help. Now, by the way, it was a fantastic, wonderful evening in every way, shape, or form. It was so much fun. We did spirograph, then we played games. The whole time, my sweetheart was playing record albums. We laughed, we talked, we connected. And it was just a wonderful evening all the way around once the meal was over. All right, so that's the background that I want you to know about before I go into what happened yesterday, which was 5 days after the chili incident. I was doing my morning check-in with my inner children, and when I got to my inner 11-year-old, she was really, really upset. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm in ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. It's a 12-step recovery program where you reparent yourself and you use the 12 steps to recover from trauma and intergenerational family dysfunction. And so that's what I'm talking about. So one of the things that has been fantastic about doing this reparenting and connecting with my inner family is that I have this really loving inner family now. I get to experience acceptance in a way that I just never fucking experienced in real life. So my inner 11-year-old was really upset, and I allowed her to be upset and express her feelings. I didn't try to fix her feelings. I did try to comfort and soothe her and give her space to share if that's what she wanted to do. So I comforted and reassured her. And it took about 15 or 20 minutes for her to share what was going on. And she said, I don't want to get in trouble, but I cheated. So I asked, well, what do you mean you cheated? She said, I cheated with my food. And I said, oh, do you mean last Saturday with the chili? And she was like, yeah. So I said, well, thank you for being honest about that and telling me. As you might remember, we've already been honest about this. We texted our sponsor right away. We worked on the form. We talked to our 2 sponsees about it. And Sunday, we're going to go over that form with our sponsor. So it's already out in the open. We made a mistake, and that's okay. Hopefully, we're not going to do it again, but you're not in trouble. And she was like, wait, I get to be honest about making a mistake and cheating, and I still get to be loved? And I was like, yeah, of course you still get to be loved. And she was like, wait, I still get to be loved? And I said, yes, you still get to be loved. Now, as I'm saying these words to you right now, there's these feelings like reverberating through my body. Like, this is how meaningful this was. So I was doing all that, that conversation in my mind with my eyes closed, and it was between me, adult Barb, and my inner 11-year-old. Then me, adult Barb, got up and literally started yelling, I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. And for some reason, I felt moved to run around my house into every room and yell, I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. I literally opened closet and cabinet doors and yelled into them, I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. I wanted that knowledge to seep into every crack and crevice of my home, which, by the way, if you ever come to my home, that knowledge and energy will be there waiting for you. Now, in every single room of my home, I shouted, I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. It doesn't matter what I do or don't do. I still get to be loved. It doesn't matter what I did or didn't do. I still get to be loved. This experience of being loved, no matter what, is something I have been giving myself through my inner family work. No matter what a member of my inner family feels or thinks or says or does, they're still loved. Now, there are certain behaviors that are unacceptable, but all feelings are acceptable, and nobody has to manage anyone else's feelings. All feelings are acceptable, but not all behavior is acceptable. There's a deep, deep lovingness among my inner family members. So I've been experiencing this internally during my inner family work, but to literally walk around in my house as an adult and say out loud, I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved. I still get to be loved, was profound and unprecedented, which is why I needed to do a podcast episode about it. This is the thing that people call unconditional love. This is it. I never really got unconditional love. I had conditional love growing up. That's just the facts. I didn't feel loved when I was in trouble. I felt condemned. And getting to be honest and still be loved is huge. I couldn't be honest when I was growing up because if I was honest, I was going to get in trouble, which is basically, you're not going to get love from me if you don't tell me what I want to hear. So I have been dishonest for most of my life because I was trying to protect myself from either being judged or rejected or abandoned or punished. And now I get it on a deep and profound level. I get to be honest and still be loved. I get to experience no conditions on love from my inner family and mostly from myself. It doesn't matter what I did or didn't do. It doesn't matter what I do or don't do, or will not do. I get to be loved. Now, I hope that you are hearing this in such a way that you're saying to yourself, I get to be loved. I get to be loved. I get to be loved. And in case you haven't, here's what I have to say to you. You still get to be loved. You still get to be loved. You still get to be loved. It doesn't matter what you do or don't. It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. It doesn't matter what you will or will not do. You still get to be loved. And that especially means you get to be loved by yourself. And when you love yourself, you stop putting up with shit from other people because this person gets to be loved. Hey everybody, Barb here, and I've got something special for those of you ready to take that next step. You know I'm all about breaking free from old patterns, right? Well, I'm offering a limited time opportunity to experience my coaching firsthand. For just $600, you'll get 3 powerful 60-minute one-on-one coaching sessions with me via Zoom. Think of it as a deep dive into whatever's holding you back. Relationships, transitions, or just getting real with yourself. Plus, you'll walk away with a personalized action plan and video recordings of each session to revisit whenever you need a boost. Here's the kicker. If you love what we do in those 3 sessions and decide to join my 12-week program within 30 days, you'll get a full $600 discount. That's like getting these sessions for free. This isn't just about talk. It's about transformation. If you've been listening to the podcast and thinking, damn, I need that, this is your chance. But spots are limited, so don't wait. Head to higherpowercc.com/clarity to book your sessions now. Let's get real, let's get vulnerable, and let's get you moving forward. That's higherpowercc.com/clarity. If you like this podcast, and I'm guessing you did because you're still listening, you will also love my weekly newsletter, Friday Fragments, which has short essays similar to the podcast. You can check it out at fridayfragments.news. That's fridayfragments.news. If you haven't already subscribed to my podcast on your favorite podcast outlet, please do that. It helps carry the message to more people. I started this podcast because there was so much wisdom in recovery that just wasn't making its way out into the world. So I want as many people as possible to hear it. I'd also love it if you'd leave a 5-star rating or a review, which you can do on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find it so they can get the benefits that you've gotten from listening. If someone in particular came to mind when you listen to this episode, please share it with them. And my favorite place to hang out on social media is Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. Please DM me there. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. I run private and group coaching programs on building healthy boundaries. Whether you need help with boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, I can help. Head on over to barbchat.net where you can get on my calendar for a free 30-minute Better Boundaries consultation. I also do short-term situational coaching to help people make it through specific situations they're going through, such as divorce, empty nesting, preparing for retirement, or any phase where their identity is shifting. Regardless of the type of coaching, my ideal client is someone who is ripe for change. If that's you, I'd love to work with you. My goal with all my work is to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. Remember, it's never too late to recover. No one is beyond hope, and healing is possible. Thanks for listening.